Hey guys, welcome back to the shack. And today I've been sitting in here cranking out some stuff, getting prepped for this coming up week's event. Saturday, June the 8th, I'll be at the Clanton City Park at the Peach Jam Jubilee. Gonna have my booth set up, have the portable clack shack out there, and I'm gonna be selling some stuff, meeting folks, handing out a little bit of merch, and just having a good day, hopefully, if the weather permits. But today I want to go through some of the things that I'm going to be selling, and through what I've seen on the market in the past couple of years and what I've experienced at this event, I've kind of retooled what I'm going to be selling to try to maximize the profit with very little overhead and not having to lug around a whole lot of blanks and things to engrave. So I've added a few things to the arsenal. I've got the xTool F1 up and going. It's going to be going with me, as well as the Atom Stack A24 that's on my table. And we're going to be cranking out some stuff. But I want to go over some of the small things that sell at these events, guys, because I'm telling you, the money as a whole is in the smaller items. You'll sell way more of those than you will the bigger things. And it's, if you sell enough of them, the profit can actually be more than if you're selling the more expensive stuff. So if you're interested to see what I'm going to be selling and things that you could also sell at events, stick around and we're going to discuss it and go through some of the things. All right, guys, so I've got the F1 set up, and what I've been doing is I've been running through all my blanks, making sure that I have my jigs pre-configured, set up, ready to go, so that when I get to the event, the setup time is going to be minimal. Now, one thing I will say, the past events that I've done, I've ran either the xTool D1, the D1 Pro, I've used the Atom Stack A24 at an event, which I also had the F1 at that event. But the one thing about this little machine that I have learned and have come to love when it comes to small things is making jigs for it. With the updates that they've done to XCS, with having the multiple canvases and being able to have multiple files open at the same time, I can literally have on XCS now, everything you see on this table, I can have that file open and ready to go while I'm at an event, and that's pretty handy. So by using XCS's ability to do that, along with the jig system that I've developed and these blanks, I can turn out any one of these in just a few seconds using the system. So that's one thing that I want to point out to you guys. I have spent time developing my jig system, as well as I've got me a holder, and as you can see, I've got them all to where I can easily go through here and I know which one I need for what item. And I have one of these jigs that works with every item that I'll be doing as far as my small stuff that I do at events. And this is going to cut down on a lot of the fumbling around trying to find things. So really happy with that creation. Typically, when I first started doing events, guys, this was my little box. I have vastly outgrown this, and I'm looking at probably going and getting something a little bigger, maybe even something with wheels on it, because I've gotten so much stuff. I'm going to try this week, hopefully, to get myself a bigger box to put stuff in, and I'll just reallocate this for something else. But some of the things that I want to share with you are, when you're at an event, if you look at it from your perspective, when you're out there and you're walking around, especially if you're a family and you got a bunch of kids with you, and these events are in the summertime, it's hot. Typically, whenever you park your vehicle at one of these big events, it's going to be a pretty good little hike to get back to your vehicle. So some of the challenges that I've seen over the years at these really massive events like this is I lean more into this small stuff that you can stick in a pants pocket or a purse, as opposed to the bigger things. And part of my logic behind that is I can't tell you how many times people have told me, yeah, I'd love to have that cutting board, but that thing's heavy and my car is so far. I'll come back and get that on my way out. And then you never see them again, because either A, they talk themselves out of making the purchase before they make it back to you. B, they see somebody else has one that maybe they like a little bit better or that's closer to their car, and you wind up missing the sale. I have had very few people ever say, I'm going to come back by and see you on my way out with these small things. They generally will say, how long does it take? And when I tell them it takes me like less than a minute or two to do one of these, they're like, oh, okay, well, I'll take one with this name on it and one with this name on it. That's generally how it goes. So I stick with a lot of the anodized products in the past. One of my biggest sellers is going to be these little pet tags right here. And these things, they engrave really well, even with the diode. These silver ones, you can pretty much hang those up unless you have the IR, but I don't really like those anyway. The color ones typically sell really well. So much that just this week, I got another 100 of them in from Amazon, and so that I'll have plenty to do this next week. Now, some of these colors are going to sell out faster than others. I know that. The plain silver ones, I'm going to try to reserve those for people that just want the silver. I can do those on the F1 using the IR, but it's a lot slower. So I try to steer people away from the silver if I can. Also, these little tags right here. These I have a pretty good luck with these guys. These are basically just little circular anodized pieces, very similar to the pet tags. And I find that a lot of people like these for luggage tags, for when they're traveling or whatever. You can put a little keychain on this, basically. Put your name, address, phone number, whatever on here. Attach it to your luggage. And that way, if your luggage gets misplaced, without having to go into your bag, they can find a contact number. A couple of other things that I've seen people have told me they wanted these for, and I made them for, are sports bags. A lot of kids play a lot of sports these days. The different colors comes in handy because typically if the school color is red, they're going to want red. If the school color is blue, they're going to want blue. But a lot of folks like taking these and they put their number, whatever their jersey number is, put that on here, whether it's a ball, like a bat bag, whether it's cheerleading outfits in a duffel bag, band equipment, band instruments. You can take these and put them on your case for your band instruments. I mean, there's a lot of different applications for these, and I sell quite a few of those throughout the season as well. So this year I decided that since the other ones do really well, I found these. These are a little smaller. These are, I think, 25 millimeters, so they're basically like a 1-inch circle. And I went ahead and got some of those because same thing here. These would also work for the same applications. I can put a kid's jersey number on here. I can put somebody's name on here. These will work for smaller pets if you don't want the bone-shaped one and you have a Chihuahua or some type of really small dog. But you want something that you can put their name on and a phone number. The text will be a lot smaller, but you can use these. Small dogs is what I kind of designed this for. But in the event that you have a cat that wears a collar, which not many do, it would work for something like that as well as the other tags and stuff that people tend to want for assorted things. Keychains and ink pens. I found those to be pretty awesome. A lot of times, especially Father's Day, this year the Peach Jam is going to be right before Father's Day. So in the past, I've had a lot of people that have wanted the ink pens and stuff like that just to put quotes on or, say thanks to their dad or whatever. Those are pretty common. The key rings and stuff, Father's Day can be a big thing for that too. Pretty much all of our really nice toys typically have keys. So personalized key rings for dad, that's going to be a big thing around Father's Day too, especially for the younger kids that just want to get dad a little something and they see that and think, you know what, my dad needs a keychain that says this. So that's another thing that I think probably we'll see a spike in this year because of the Peach Jam being before Father's Day gets here. Some of the other things that I've got, and I don't do a lot of these are kind of expensive, but these little minimalist wallets, these things are great for the F1. You can engrave them with the blue diode and get a really nice, like a gray, almost white color. I've done 3 or 4 of them for myself and some friends. They turned out nice. So these are something that you can slip this in your pocket. Like I said, all the things that I'm showing you guys are things that you can literally stick in your pocket and walk away with it once they purchase it. And I leaned heavy into the small things during events. Another thing that people like during the summertime, and I have found sell pretty well, are these little Amazon. These basically are like wooden handle bottle openers, and you can engrave on either side of these things, and you've got a pretty good little area. I sell a lot of those. I have a display set up with a bunch of just generalized statements on them, but I always try to keep at least a few on hand to personalize in case somebody wants their business logo or something like that on there for a, a gift to people. Or if, you know, a lot of people have lake houses and they want to put, you know, the name of the lake house on there so that they can kind of have that for when people come over and hang out with them. I've had quite a few of those. The bamboo cutting boards, of course, I always take a few of those with me. I'll do those on the A24, but those are easy to do quick because with bamboo, it burns reasonably fast. So with the A24, I can run that thing on up there 150 millimeters a second and have one knocked out in a little no time. Those are economical blanks that don't take up a lot of room. I generally don't take more than about 4 or 5 with me because that will usually suffice. Anything past that, I try to do an after the event sale to the person. But along with all of those things, I also keep like the peripheral stuff that I may need for these things. You know, I keep my larger loop key rings. I also keep some magnets because a lot of times some of these folks will want me to make some of my refrigerator stickers or magnets, as well as the wooden keychains. The wooden keychains I cut out on the A24 and just have the blanks. I can either cut them out and engrave them on the A24, or I can cut me out a few blanks at the beginning of the event and just knock them out using the F1. But all of these little anodized aluminum things, guys, they're really, really fast. It literally takes longer most of the time to set those things up than it does to engrave them because they're so small. And I've done a lot of those. Well, this year I was like, I want to get something a little more feminine, I guess you could say. I wanted to get something that, you know, not necessarily the guys or the pet owners would want, but I was leaning into, you know, what kind of things am I selling to women? And it has been keychains, custom keychains, different slogans or statements or names or whatever on keychains. And I've pretty much been limited in the past because this is an event. I only have diode lasers. I can't do a whole lot with acrylic. I've only been limited to the anodized aluminum and wood. So this year I got to scouring Amazon trying to find some blanks that I liked. And guys, I found me a pretty good deal. I got 100 of these already made, already put together, evenly sized, assorted colors. That's probably my favorite color too, by the way, guys. Keychains. These are already put together. Now they're like a pleather type material, the synthetic leather that you engrave with the lasers, but it does a really good job on the F1. I've tested every color, and my wife got a handful of free Peach Jam keychains because I had to test every color to make sure that I didn't have a color that was going to be a problem at the event. But I've established the settings for these, got it saved in XCS, and so I'm good to go with those. Also, just because not everybody wants something that big, and sometimes they just want something with a line of text, I found these. Now, these are basically the same material. It's just a little more textured, but as far as text goes, so far every color that's in this box I have tested, and the text turns out kind of a brown, almost a tan to a brown color. The darker ones, it's a little harder to see, but when you get down into the pink and the white, it shows up really well. So I've got jigs made for all of this stuff. I've got everything laid out, power settings saved, ready to go with the F1. Now, while I was messing around today, goofing off, I decided to go ahead because I have had situations where people wanted custom pencils to go along with the ink pens. A lot of people use pencils, more people than I thought. And so I've been messing around with my ink pen, my pencil jig for the F1 as well. And I've created it to work with the machine also. It's a little bit different than what you typically would see with jigs for the F1 in that it actually has a little holes back here to hold the pencil so that you can let the door down without risk of it knocking the pencil over or whatever. And this also serves as kind of a holder to keep it from rotating freely on its own. And it's been working pretty well. So all together, I think I'm event ready, guys, with the F1. I've got all my inventory. I've checked to make sure everything's in the trailer. I've got this set up So I'll be putting all of my stuff back in my trailer, getting ready. The only thing that's going to stay in the shop, of course, is the machine itself, and that's just because I don't like setting it out there, and I do use it in the shop. The thing to remember, guys, is the smaller the item, the less excuses somebody can come up with for not purchasing it. The bigger the items, you know, that can be a little bit of an irritant trying to carry those things around, especially at an event like this. There's going to be 300, I think there's around 350 vendors going to be at this event. It covers several acres of property, and there's going to be a band toward the end that's going to be singing and playing music. Chris Jensen, Chris Jensen, I believe is his name. He's a country music singer. He's going to be there that afternoon, and a lot of these people are going to be parked several hundred yards from where the vendors are going to be, and the food and the entertainment. And so if I'm trying to convince them to purchase this cutting board that weighs, you know, several pounds, that is bulky, that can't just be stuck in their pocket, they're less likely to make that purchase than they are if it's something that they could purchase really quick from me, really cheap for the most part. You're looking at, on average, around $10 for one of these things. It gives me enough money to make it worth my while to go out there and set up, and they get something that they can purchase, slip it in their pocket, and they don't have to worry with it until they do make it back to their vehicle. So those are things you need to consider when you go to these events, because if you haven't noticed it, last time you went to Walmart or any shopping center for that matter, people like convenience. Nobody wants to park at the far reaches of the parking lot. Everybody wants to park in front of the door. So when you're deciding what items to sell at events, take into consideration human habits or human tendencies, which are we're inherently a bit lazy. We're not going to want to be lugging this heavy stuff around. So if you're carrying all these really large things to events or these really fragile things to events, it is recommendable. And these are just my little small bags that sometimes I use for some stuff. I do recommend, if you're going to give them something heavy to carry, at least work it into your costs to give them some type of a tote or bag or some way of carrying this thing so that it's a little more comfortable and a little more convenient. That may help you out on some of those larger sales. But my focus at events is I stick with the small stuff, get my name out there, get some stuff going. Anything big, I try to just take an order and maybe have the person pick it up the next week or have it delivered the next week to them. That way they're not having to walk around with it. So, all right, guys, like I said, I'm not a pro. Your area may be completely different than my area, where I live, where I work, where I go to events at. Your area may be different, but I go to a lot of events and I see a lot of people that are buying and selling. One of the other major things, and I can't iterate this enough to you guys, that when you're sitting there and you're at your booth, be inviting, be entertaining, just be friendly, because and if next time you go to an event, pay attention to the vendors that are busy and the vendors that are not. The ones that are not, just kind of look at what they're doing. I can bet you about 8 out of 10 will be sitting there looking away, probably at their phone, not paying attention to the crowd, not greeting people, inviting them to come over. You want to, every person that walks past there, you want to wait for that opportunity for them to make eye contact with you, smile and say, hey, what can I get for you today? And invite them into your booth. If you don't do that, they're not going to come over, not likely, unless they have something on your counter that sparks their interest. Now, I do use several displays on my setup to kind of draw their eye. I do put some pretty cool stuff out there, even if I'm not trying to sell a bunch of big stuff. Sometimes I'll set a couple big things out there. But those guys are just basically, imagine your table as being the window in the mall. When you walk past the window, you want at least one thing that relates to most every person that's going to be there so that it'll catch their eye and get that glance. Once you get that glance, it's up to you or whoever is helping you at your booth to interact with that person, invite them over, and try to go ahead and make that sale. Even if it's only $5 or $10, if you have enough people come over and spend $5 or $10 with your booth, it'll make it worth your trip. Now, if you're in a situation to where you can take $300, $400 items and sell hundreds of those, hats off to you. Tell me what your secret is. I really need to know. But these smaller items add up. So the cost of the blanks compared to what you can sell them for with just a simple engraving from the F1 that takes 30 seconds is a pretty good little profit margin. So I hope all this helps, guys. I've got other videos about events, about what I do at events and how I do events. And I plan to try to capture as much video as I can of the upcoming event to share it with you guys when I get back. So watch out for that video. And if you hadn't already, hit the button down below and subscribe to the channel. But until next time, be safe and have a good day.